Hey, oh my God, I'm back. How have y'all been? It's been so long since I have sat on this chair and talked to you. Just me and you. How are you doing? I miss you. This year has been wild, crazy, insane. Mostly good ways, but also bad. But mostly good. I was feeling a bit burnt out though, which is kind of why I took the break. I really just needed to take some time. I was like I wanted to film, but I was just kind of dreading it and I was procrastinating and I wasn't doing my best work. And so I took some much needed rest and here we are. I feel refreshed and I'm ready to give my fucking weird ass perspective that you may or may not give a fuck about. With how I've been feeling, just like tired and exhausted and not motivated, I thought it'd be a perfect time to kind of talk about what exactly that is. And so this episode is about burnout. What is burnout? Because it's not just being physically tired. It's being just drained both physically and emotionally, unmotivated, distracted. And I know when I'm starting to feel burnt out, when I'm like dreading things. When I wake up and I just like, ugh, just everything in my day, just I don't want to do. That's when I know I'm like, okay, it's time to take a break. And that's kind of where I was at. And let me tell you, the last few months kind of flew by. I was only trying to take a few weeks off. It's the end of March. It's March 30th, the day that I'm filming this. I don't even remember if I've released an episode in January. But don't let me get carried away here. So, signs of burnout, constant exhaustion, procrastinating, and these are all like obvious things. And like how everything just feels like a chore. And even like personal hygiene, you're just like, ugh, it's just like you'll do it, but it just feels like a fucking chore. Not only that, but it can manifest like physically, like start losing weight, lose your hair, and like you can start feeling sick. The way that you're feeling in life definitely manifests in like your physical body because it's all connected, Not only that, but like mood, feeling irritable, and these are with all things in life, whether it be your routine or relationships. You can feel burnt out in like a friendship or like your romantic relationship or even like at work, feel burnt out at work. There's a lot of things that just make us as humans feel trapped and feel just so uneasy and being trapped in a routine that, maybe you're not completely enjoying can trigger like a fawn response. You just give up and lose interest in things. And it can sneak up on you too. It like overloading yourself with work, taking on more than you can handle. And in the moment, you're like, yeah, I feel great. I can do this. And you're like, I'll be able to take on this project and probably that project too. And it feels great. And you're able to keep that up for a while. And eventually it starts, I don't know, not being as easy. You're not as motivated to do it. Also, like, especially with content creators such as myself, the pressure to always be on. And what I mean by that is just like always being like peppy and happy and energetic and always acting as though people are watching you, because chances are they are. And so that constant pressure of like always being in front of a camera or always doing something, documenting this, and it can really be tiring and just emotionally draining and physically draining. That's kind of what was happening with me. And instead of accepting that and facing that, I kind of pushed through it, which is the last thing you want to do, which led to a several month break. What, 3 months, 4 month break? But I knew I needed a break personally. I knew that I was getting burnt out when I was starting to lose weight. And my favorite things about my day, like brushing my teeth, making coffee in the morning, going to the gym, all of these things, I had no interest in doing them anymore. Also, I was dreading Twitch streams, and I was dreading filming podcasts and dreading making my other content, which is abnormal for me. I genuinely enjoy doing my podcast and doing Twitch streams, and I genuinely enjoy everything about my job. And so, like, for me to dread it and for me to, like, feel anxiety when I think about doing it, that's like a really good sign that I need to just take a little bit of a break. Because ignoring it only makes it worse. Pushing through it literally only makes it worse. And a lot of times, because our society, I talk about it all the time, but we live in a capitalistic society. And so hustle culture is very much encouraged and glorified and romanticized. And, you know, like people, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And then there's Steve Harvey, you know, the video of Steve Harvey where he's talking about how pointless it is to get a full 8 hours of sleep each night. Like just the hustle culture and the self-suffering and the it's almost like putting yourself as a martyr. It's so glorified in our society. The harder you work, the more successful you'll be. Which in a lot of ways is true. But you have to remember that resting is part of being successful. That 3-job mindset and the I'll sleep when I'm dead mindset, that's only going to cause you later on to take a bigger break in the future, and probably bigger than you would have if you would have just take smaller breaks more often. Does that make sense? Not only that, but you'll be more consistent. My podcast, for example, I was consistent every week coming out with an episode. I did get a little bit burnt out and I was like, okay, maybe and then I was thinking about taking a break. I was thinking about quitting and I was like, no. And I almost listened to my body. I almost listened to myself, but the guilt of ending the podcast, the guilt of taking some time off was too much, and so I didn't. But eventually it got to the point where I absolutely needed a break. I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I really, it's the hustle, the hustle mindset, the taking on way more than I can handle. I do have a lot on my plate. You know, I'm working on consolidating, but I don't want to stop doing the things that I love. And so if there's something that I love doing, something that I'll enjoy doing, I will make time for it. But you know, it's just the that perfect balance or finding the perfect balance between doing what I love but also loving rest. I have to also add rest to the things that I love. And I guess that's just kind of something that I came to right in this moment. Also, like social media, and you know, people say this all the time, or maybe they don't in your realm of life, but I hear it all the time. Comparison is your greatest enemy. Like, it's fucking true because You see only people's highlights. You only see the greatest moments of someone's life in like an Instagram post or a Facebook post or whatever. It's something that I have experienced myself because in my hometown, I have people that are like, "Oh my god, Nova, you're doing so well." They're not calling me Nova, they're calling me my real name. They're like, "Oh my god, Nova, you're doing so well. Like you look like you're doing fucking fantastic. You look like you're so busy and blah blah. You're just traveling all the time and you're so famous." People in my hometown literally think I'm famous. I'm like, That's a joke." But I like they only see the things that I post, and so they think that I'm living like this beautiful, lavish life, which I mean, I love my life, don't get me wrong, but I don't live a lavish life. I just live in an apartment, just me and my dog. I don't travel all the time. I travel a fair amount. I am comfortable. That's the best way I can describe my financial or, but it's funny just experiencing the way that people perceive you. So it kind of put in perspective of all the people that I idolize and all the people on social media that I follow, and I'm like, dang, like I just want to be like that successful. I want to be that busy and I want to do all these awesome things. It did help me put it in perspective of, well, maybe they probably just live a similar life as I do, but they of course, they they probably also do very lavish things and awesome things, but maybe it's over glorified in my head. Maybe I'm overestimating how great their life is in comparison to mine, Like I don't know if I'm making sense, but having someone idolize my life in the way that I idolize my idol's life helped me not idolize them so much. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I got high before this, so just don't even listen to me. But there's also a sense of like in our society with like the hustle culture. We tie our self-worth very closely to our productivity. If we are resting, we're slacking. If we're doing nothing, at least some people, I'm not going to talk for every person that's alive because that's not the case. But for overachievers or people like me, I'll just say that. People like me, when I'm doing nothing, I feel uncomfortable. And so it's definitely something that I have to overcome. It's something that I have to work on because even when I am taking intentional rest, sometimes like I'm overcome with guilt or I'm overcome with like I could be doing this. And so it doesn't even feel like rest. It doesn't even feel like I'm taking time to myself. It doesn't feel like I am dedicating time for rest. I'm just dedicating time to worrying, which is not what I want. The opposite of what I want to do. But how do we overcome that guilt? How do we overcome that uncomfortable feeling? I mean, it's a process, but just really drilling it in your fucking brain that rest is part of success. Even cars need to refuel. Even a phone needs to recharge its battery. Even like every electronic needs to recharge. Humans are no different. We also need time to recharge. We need juice, we need fuel. We need to take care of ourselves, and so resting is literally part of succeeding. Giving yourself time to recoup so that you can put the best you out there, like for example, content creation. Resting so that you can put the best version of yourself into your content. You can create something that you can stand behind. You can't do that if you're just drilling into yourself that you have to keep going and going. You do need rest. Rest is literally part of success. Sorry, I'm telling this to myself too, okay? So if I keep saying the same thing over and over, it's because I'm the one that needs to hear it. So reframing your mindset. I say this all the time, but instead of saying, I'm falling behind, tell yourself, I'm recharging so I can be better. Another way to think about it is if a friend of yours was in a similar situation, would you judge them for resting? That's one that gets me because I'm always preaching to my friends, "Oh, take a rest. You need to rest. Like take a nap, eat some food, like you deserve it." Why can't I say that to myself? I don't know. But I'm saying it to myself right now. Would you judge a friend for taking the rest that you are trying to take? What would you tell your friend? So, when you're burned out, when you are feeling unmotivated and just uninspired and all of that bullshit, how do you get back on track? You got to start small. You got to start with things that feel good. Don't just jump into your normal, ideal schedule. For those of you who are on audio, ideal are in quotations because ideal is not the same as realistic. But I digress. You can't just jump into your perfect schedule right away. You have to start small. Start with things that feel good. Start with things that get you inspired. Refresh your workspace. Clean up your desk. Add a little cute little decoration or switch up your schedule if you can. Find different ways to just make it feel a little bit new, because that's part of like the burnt out feeling, is just the routine of same thing all the time. It just feels monotonous. You know that SpongeBob episode where Squidward moves to that gated community and there's that montage of like at first he's doing all the things he loves, going to dance classes and clarinet practice and riding his bike, and he's smiling. And then as the days go on and on and on, he starts to frown and he starts to hate the life that he actually loves. And part of that is just the fucking routine and like the lack of creativity and the lack of fun and spontaneity. And we're the same way. At least I am. I need fresh things. I need things to keep my passion aflame, which is something that I've known for a long time. I'm always switching up my schedule. It doesn't really help though. But I'm constantly trying to learn different ways to like refresh my life, because I struggle. This is an ongoing issue. Feeling burnt out with like certain things is an ongoing issue. And something that I will be, learning going forward alongside with y'all. Also, remember why you do it in the first place. Why do you go to work? And I know most of you, or all of you, are going to say because I have to pay my bills, which is perfectly fucking valid. Let that be your motivation, and if you have to find joy in other ways, like the cookie you have in the morning or the cup of coffee or, going out to eat once a week at a restaurant on the weekend, or just something that you can find joy in, ways you can refresh your life, rearrange your house, or clean your car and, add something cute to it. Whatever makes, whatever sparks joy in your life, it's important because you are the main character in your life. Like, you have full free will. You're allowed to decorate your fridge, the inside of your fridge. You're allowed to put plants in your car. You're allowed to, you're allowed to do unconventional things if they make you happy. Like, there's nothing stopping you. And so I think that you and I, us together, we need to find ways to, just make life kind of funky. Can we make life kind of funky together? Because I think that is amazing. I think that's the beauty of life. Once life is funky, then getting back, doing the things that you actually enjoy doing things that you want to do, will feel so much easier. because you don't feel stuck in other aspects of your life. So, long story short, make your life kind of funky and weird and whimsical. I know I've said that in this podcast before, but make your life fucking whimsical and crazy. And if it makes people kind of give you a side eye, or if it makes people kind of like uncomfortable, then it did its job. Then it did exactly what you intended it to do. But in reality, the goal isn't to make other people feel weird. It's just to make you feel happy. Whatever helps you remember that you are a person, a human on a floating rock, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. And life is good. I kind of got off track there. But how do you prevent burnout? You need to try to set as realistic goals as possible. Like I said, you can't just jump right in, but you also can't do the exact same schedule that puts you in the burnout in the first place, you know? You kind of have to adjust a bit. Like, for example, my podcast, instead of it going to be every week, it's going to be every 2 weeks. I think that seems like a fair trade off. Do small things to compromise because I don't want to quit the podcast. I love the podcast. I love doing the podcast. I love talking to you guys. I love sharing my perspective. I love it. But doing it every week was getting a bit overwhelming. And so doing it every 2 weeks is a fantastic middle ground for me. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm still doing it. I'm justifying the time and the effort, but I'm also allowing myself to take a week off in between, which is huge for me. Please pat me on the back, okay? Please congratulate me because that's big for me. Listen to your body. And I just saw something the other day. I might have shared it on my Instagram or whatever, but I saw something that said something along the lines of listen to your body because your body doesn't lie, but your brain is constantly lying to you. That really resonated with me because, yes, my brain is constantly lying to me, emotionally and even physically. Like, I see certain things sometimes, like if it's kind of dark and, your brain fills in gaps in your sight, and, your brain is a big fat liar. But your body is always trying to send you messages. So listen to your body. If you have a job and you have a very physical job, obviously it's hard to get around that. And it's hard with like a hard labor job or even just a 9 to 5 job to not get burnt out in those situations. And I don't have a lot of insight for those kinds of situations because I've been unemployed for a really long time. But the best advice I can tell you is make time for yourself, make time for your health, and like I said earlier, just make your life as funky and weird as possible. If you want to cosplay on the weekends, or like, get a hobby that makes you feel empowered, or a hobby that makes you stand out, or makes someone kind of look at you like, hell yeah. That just gives you a level of whimsy in your life that I feel like everyone needs. I think we all need a little bit of whimsy. Because I think we've fallen into such like a tight routine. And all of us have, okay? It's not just me, it's not just you, it's not just Squidward. It's all of us. But yeah, listen to your body. Are you tired? Aches and pains. Listen to your mood. Like, are you feeling super irritable? Like, be honest with yourself. And sometimes, even if that means like, hey, babe, I really need to just like have some alone time tonight. Can we be in separate rooms? Or whatever that means. I don't want to talk for the rest of the night. I'm really sorry, but you don't even have to say sorry. Just say, hey, I'm just feeling really drained today. I think I'm going to take the rest of the night and turn off my phone. Simply acknowledging that you are tired or that you are drained and expressing that to someone and not forcing yourself to entertain or be around people, because for me, when I'm drained and when I'm feeling burnt out, I don't want to talk to anyone. I literally don't want to talk to anyone. And I know that I'm feeling burnt out on a relationship specifically when I'm super irritable and I just like am tired of everything they say. And that happens is I get burnt out on like a friendship or a relationship or even a family member, and everything they say is fucking annoying. I'm like, can you just shut the fuck up, please? That's how I know I need to take some time off. I need to take a little break from this person. And it's nothing against them. It's just I need to create space in order to love them unconditionally. It's something I have been telling myself lately is how, like, a question I'm asking myself, how much space do I need in order to love this person unconditionally? Because I have it in me to love people unconditionally. I do. But depending on who the person is, how our personalities clash, how emotionally mature they are, all of that kind of determines how much space I need in order to do so. Sometimes I need more space. Sometimes I can only talk to you for 1 day a week in order to love you unconditionally. Sometimes I can talk to you every day. Sometimes I can talk to you all day and I can still love you unconditionally. It's being honest with yourself and being honest with that person and giving yourself that boundary is what prevents you from getting burnt out in a relationship. And I mean, that's really kind of with anything really, but it's kind of it's harder to draw that kind of boundary in like a work scenario. But you know what I mean. It's also really important on the topic of listening to our body to get out and get some sunshine. Soak up that vitamin D, baby. Eat healthy foods. Eat, as raw and healthy as you can. And I say raw as in vegetables. I don't really mean whatever whatever like the health industry has kind of warped the word raw into. I just mean raw veggies. Eat as colorful and as healthy as you can. And otherwise, I don't really have answers for you. I'm sorry that I'm not an expert on how to prevent burnout, but I deal with it daily. So, if you have any insight for me, if you have ways that you have prevented burnout or ways that you have overcome burnout, or maybe some tips that you would like to share, I would love to hear them. I'm going to put the link to my Discord in the description of this episode because I do have a podcast discussion channel. Any tips you have, anything at all, I would love to hear them. So I'm going to put my Discord and invite straight to podcast discussion right in the podcast episode description. So I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say. But that being said, the gist of this episode really is try to make your life fucking weird and funky. I'm sorry that I don't have a better answer for you, but being funky and weird is the cure. It's the answer. It's the key to life. Please stay funky and keep being funky and try, if anything, to get funkier. Anyway, it's so good to be back. I hope that this episode wasn't too weird. It will take a couple episodes maybe to get back in the groove of things, get back into podcast Nova. I'm still in like Twitch Nova, but I love that I'm here. I'm loving that you guys are here with me. Thank you all so much, and have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye.